If anyone in the schoolhouse is talking, we can't hear you. And the schoolhouse microphone is on mute. Okay, just in case you think we can't hear, we can't hear anything.
Now it says you're unmuted, so good. Thank you.
Oh, there, look at that.
I beg your pardon, that was complete operator error. I hope the people online can hear us now.
I can hear you.
Thank you.
Whoa.
It had changed the default startup, so I was muted and screen turned off.
The default start.
Caroline, you have a comment?
So I know you didn't have a chance to share the information that was given about the crosswalks. I would like to ask you to give it now. People are very concerned, and I believe that was recorded in the minutes. They don't want audio activated flashing beacons. We have not had a process for the last 5 years. And I believe we promised the residents that we would give them an update before this was installed.
I can share that information with whoever is interested in receiving it, but I'll have to do that from my email when I have a moment to do so. But I'm very happy to share it. Just to bring people online who could not hear us prior to a few minutes ago, the question was related to Public Works update and a request that the committee made at the last meeting for more information about the crosswalk installations at Portola Road and Alpine Road in relation to rapid flashing beacons and audio function. I do have that information, so I do have more information about that. So anyone willing would like to contact me, I can forward that information to you. Helen, you have a comment?
I'm on public comment period. Helen Walter again. My understanding is budget-wise, our interim town engineer has gone through his hours. He has 2 hours left. We have offered the position to a permanent engineer position. I believe he has accepted. But
Can't hear anything.
he has not started yet. So, so hopefully we'll have more content, more knowledge on staff soon. But budgetarily, we don't have a interim town manager or town engineer at the moment. So we are waiting for this permanent position, full-time employee to start. And then let him get up to speed. And hopefully soon. So that can work with us about what's going on with the crosswalks. So it's unfortunate that I don't know what happened. with the crosswalk installation situation, that the public was not kept up to speed. So, I'm not happy about that either. So those are the updates. I hope that helps.
Do we infer that the project is stalled until the new engineer is available? We don't know.
We
Okay.
don't know,
fine,
right?
yeah.
So, right. I mean, it does seem stalled, like they put in,
So foundations are there and some other work has been done.
Right.
But if there's nobody to supervise it and keep track, then presumably, contractors are not brought in and the new work doesn't get followed on. Yeah.
So I just want to comment, if you can look over all the, it's online, actually, it's summarized in our website. So it was approved by town council in August 21. 19, I'm sorry, 2019. On condition that it was not in the same location by the Priory. It's in the same location. We're spending money for what? This is not going to solve. issues.
I used to, yeah, I hear you. The location is,
And it's only gotten worse because we now have two entrances. And
right,
Woodside Priory is not telling the truth at the planning commissions. So they claim it's a one-way. It's not a one-way. It's a two-way. We have the same, and the problems have only gotten worse. And for some reason, the town does not want to look
I mean,
into this.
so, I mean, we are stuck in a hard place with that crosswalk because number one, because we got the money awarded to us from the Transportation Authority, San Mateo County Authority in 2020. There are other things we want money from them for, like all the parking situations. I was I emailed them a few weeks ago and asked about parking management and getting, applying for a grant for parking management. And they said, you guys have had such a problem implementing, unless you can show that you can implement, it's hard to get future grants. They don't want to give us grants. So I know how bad that intersection is. I used to try to walk my child across that street. I know how bad it is, right? I think it's a terrible location. I don't know what happened and why it ended up there again.
We know what happened. We have been addressing it to town council for the last 5 years.
Okay, so
We have mentioned it at the planning commission.
so unfortunately, I think we're stuck with what we've got right now. And I don't know, Howard's Young is gone. We don't have that institutional memory, right? I don't know who, and he was managing the grant. So I'm not sure what happened. If anyone wants to call Howard and talk to him, or, and figure it out. But right now we're, I'm not sure we're going to be able to make changes. And I know it's a poor location. But I support having Priory go one way and not turn left off of Portola. I absolutely, it's such a dangerous intersection, and there's already been, people hit in the crosswalk. I know it. It's not ideal. I'm sorry. I agree with you.
It's not only the danger at both entrances, it's the driving behavior of the young students. They don't even look. Actually, nobody looks before they enter one of those driveways. They're all in a rush.
I do hear you.
And I apologize, but Mr. Young has been gone for 2 years. We had an interim manager. We have asked to see the manager. Nobody's coming to our meetings. Town council had so many opportunities. It's not like we have not asked them to intervene. So now to say it's too late is kind of.
So, I hear you. I agree with you. I'm not sure we have a solution at the moment, right? We have no money for capital improvement projects. You're on the town council meetings, every town council meetings. We do not have we are you know, barely getting services done. You know, we need to make sure that people are safe, and a crosswalk is to increase safety. I understand that. Right? So we are doing what we can. It's, you know, and unfortunately we can't be on the ballot measure and get a ballot measure for revenue enhancements that people might not pass anyway until November of 26. Right? So we've got, it's a tough time right now in town if we want to stay incorporated. Right? So, you know, those are our choices in front of us. And I hear you and I agree with you, and we just have to make some you know, swallow pills that we don't like sometimes, right? So it's not ideal, and I'm super sorry about that. Thank you.
Phil Barth, could we ask for donations from priority parents to make the crossing safer? I mean, it's their kids.
That's an interesting idea.
It should have been proposed at the COP, you know, in the planning. This is the whole problem.
Well, we'll come into this. I think we've had a lot of moving pieces at that location. When we started but thank you for the idea. I think that's constructive. The new designs and the changes that are being made currently to the crosswalk design itself came before we had the application from Priory for a change of planning and a change of use of that driveway. We did look through a consultant at locating the crossing point on Portola Road at some different locations, and those, as I recall, were ruled out because the sight lines were not appropriate for the change position.
Okay, but nobody has confirmed this during one of our meetings.
They have. It's been discussed at our meetings before you were a member of the committee.
What I remember is every time we brought it up, we were promised there was going to be a public process with a formal explanation by a professional. We have not seen this.
No, that has not happened, and I'm afraid that's unfortunate. But there's a lot of water under the
Exactly.
bridge.
And
between
it's
now
not
and now.
like we have not advised town council that this is happening.
So your comments are noted, but I don't think we can do anything from this point. And the project appears to be somewhat stalled anyway. I think we're going to have to just we are going to have to accept what's already laid in foundation. So I'm personally pleased that I believe the change to the crosswalk will make the area safer. It will improve the visibility of users of the crosswalk.
Can we discuss it? I'm willing to discuss it right now.
No, in the interest of time, we have a lot to get through. We need this. I don't like to shut you down. That's not my intention, but I don't think we're going to reach any new solution or changes with a discussion. But I can, if the committee would like to discuss it, we can do so.
I like to add to the discussion, the voice activation, having it voice activated. Years ago, when we talked about this, it was brought up that that was going to be a problem. And if I recall correctly, we didn't want to have any voice activation. It was too close to residents. People don't want to hear it's okay to cross the road now while you're having your coffee. Not every day.
And this is where we need advice, because it may be that those are mandated features because of access and disability requirements. So
We don't have them in Ladera.
Yeah, that's not.
they don't. Okay. What I can do is,
Personally, I think the crosswalks of the dare are really dangerous. There's so many signs, there's so much stuff going on. They're really poorly placed. They're super dangerous. We need to make sure it's safe before we make it more dangerous. In my humble opinion.
well, thank you for your comments. Good, well, I think as far as Public Works update, Public Works goes, we're waiting for a new, would that be another interim position, Helen? Or would it be a permanent hire? It would be a permanent hire. That's good news. Okay. Moving on to item 6, which is our ongoing committee business.
Sorry, but are we still in public comment?
Let's take one more public comment, and I'd like to keep moving, please. We have a lot to get through.
Yeah, because of the system wasn't working. I never heard the public comment part, and my hand's been up for a while. So sorry, but this is just a point of order. In looking at the packet, it suggests that the sheriff's information reports were going to be attached to this packet, and it's just not. Is it someplace else?
No, there have been no sheriff's reports received for the last 2 months.
Yeah, and it said that past ones would be available. Can I suggest that somehow they just forward the ones from the past 2 years, because it's been pretty spotty for them to be showing up to this meeting. Are they actually online going to be part of this meeting today? Are they in the room in the schoolhouse? This information is important for all of the projects that we have going on. And I can't use the adjectives I'd like to use, but with how much money we're paying for the sheriff's contract right now and not looking into other options, it's very important that that we get these reports, at least get what we're actually paying for, and that's what we're not getting. And I hope that we have 2 members of the town council here right now. Hopefully they're hearing that and they're able to move that comment forward.
Oh, absolutely. I hear exactly what you're saying. I am disappointed at the lost engagement that we've had with the Sheriff's Department. I committed to reaching out to our contact, who was Sergeant Patrick Taylor again, and copying our council liaison on that communication. I hope that will elicit some action from them, but like I say, don't hold your breath. It's been a notable coincidence that the engagement from them has dropped off since they had the special election for the sheriff's position
Yeah.
So,
but at the same time, they're not offering us any discounts in payments. So while they're taking our money, we need to get what we're paying for.
absolutely agreed. Thank you for that comment. Christy, I see you have a hand up. Let's make that the last comment on this, and let's keep moving on.
Yes, I think the sheriff reports are extremely important. And it seems that possibly a phone call on Tuesdays to get the information by Wednesday, so you can submit by Friday for the following Wednesday. So we're going to have to do reminders to the sheriff. This is too important to just say, oh, he didn't show. I mean, let's do a reminder. And when I called Patrick Taylor, I gave him the actual calendar email, or the calendar, so he can go into it and get it on his calendar at all times and know how to hook up with the Zoom. So we have cumulative 7 projects coming to town through the housing element. We have to know where our accidents and hot spots are on our main roads for safety and evacuation and any improvements to Alpine Road and Portola Road. If we don't know our accidents and locations, we cannot do improvements for safety. So please, please write an email to them showing our dissatisfaction with their follow-up on our bike safety, pedestrian traffic safety committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Have any further comments on the sheriff's report or the no sheriff's report? Phil, did you have something? Oh, I thought you were waving. Moving on to our ongoing committee business, I carved this out as kind of a special item surrounding the setting of our committee priorities, which we've been circling but haven't been able to finalize in the last meetings. And so I've structured this as starting off, we have a request to report to the town council with a tentative date of 23rd April. That's a date I won't be able to attend, so I would look for a nominee to take that presentation on, please. So I structured this so that we have a discussion session beginning with a committee discussion, some public comment, finalization of a priority list. We can decide how many items and which items to include on that. We'll propose a motion to accept those priorities as discussed and as listed, and vote to approve to go forward to make a presentation to the council. Is that an agreeable path for discussing these items with the committee?
Many of the items have never been discussed before.
So in the appendix to the agenda, I added some suggested items. They're not necessarily pre-existing, or they're items that occurred to me, and most of those we have discussed. But if we haven't,
No.
this is an open opportunity for you to approve or disapprove of those items and bring your own items to the discussion, please.
All right, well, I have submitted my priorities on several occasions.
Okay, would you like to bring those to the discussion now, please, so that we can note them?
The first one is we need a process. We're an advisory committee, and we need to know from town how we can implement our charter or duties that are mentioned in our charter. We have not been able to do that in the last 5 years because there's no coordination. So we need the process.
Well,
According to the handbook, this has to go with the help of a town manager. 2 years ago, town council has proposed that they would change the handbook. We have not seen any changes, so there's not much I can do. It also says that a member cannot initiate its own plans. It has to be discussed. So all I can do is bring it up on several occasions. I have sent you emails, how I see it, how I propose changes, and that's all I can do.
That's our job and that's our position in life, unfortunately. We're not an executive committee. We're here to make recommendations, and
That's
we're here
right.
to listen to the council, and we're here to listen to residents.
That's right. So many committees have submitted a letter to the council what they want to see. And I believe I have asked that for the last 2 years.
Okay, so in phrasing that,
So the one is the process, is the priority. Then we have several safety issues that we're working on, but we have not completed. So the priority, I think we're too late now because the planning commission has made its decision. We're too late for Stanford unless that we still will have a process. Will we have a process for Hawthorns? The draft local road safety plan. We only have a draft, and we were supposed to select 3 additional intersections. That's something we can do.
yes. So in phrasing those as priorities, as we present them to the council, exactly what would you like to say if we choose those to be included in our report? How would you like to phrase that?
We would like direction from town council how we can proceed, how we can execute our duties and solve the many traffic safety issues we have heard from our residents, we have discussed this during meetings. We cannot resolve these issues without the collaboration of town staff and consultants. So we need your help.
Oh, if I'll read this back to you. I think I captured what you said. The committee seeks direction from town council in execution of its duties. Point 1, to address safety issues brought by residents. And point 2, to ensure collaboration with town staff and consultants as needed.
Thanks. That's much better than I said it. Can we add committees? Because there are two committees, and that's ASCC and the Planning Commission. So perhaps we can add.
So I put, in my appendix, I put to formalize and develop intercommittee working relationships. Planning Commission in particular, define a BPTS role with regard to larger scale building projects as things come in and different projects arise. Examples include schools, rezoning for housing, and open space access.
Yeah, I like this, but it's not just large scale building projects. We have not been involved in regular building.
No, there's a strange, we have a say-so in certain small residential changes. Where it's a
But
driveway
it's not
change,
consistent.
but it's not consistent. So I think the overriding bracket for that is that we seek a consistency in an involvement in any of those development projects.
Well, if it has something to do with road safety, so all the buildings that exit onto our arterial roads should at least be considered by BBTS.
I agree. I think we're saying the same thing. Pat, do you have a comment on that?
I agree with that, absolutely. I don't know at what level we want to cut it off as far as our involvement, like, are we talking individual homes, driveways?
Well, the irony there's already a mechanism for that. That is part
Okay.
of our function. That's why, one reason that we're a Brown Act committee, because we have that reporting duty to the Planning Commission. But as soon as we get to things larger than that residential scale, there is no formal reporting process, or there appears not.
Well, there's no reporting process and there's also no feedback. So we're kind of a little island here with no connection to the town. That's what this feels like.
Mhm.
I think priority is to bring all of those things back together and kind of be a guiding light for all the committee actions with town.
Well, it couldn't be more broken as far as the way this is operating.
I think that's well said.
And the crosswalks are a really good example of that. No one has listened to us about the crosswalks.
Somewhat true, although none of those projects would have happened without our work on it over the years prior to the decision to make the improvements that have been made already.
Okay.
Okay, so we have two priorities. One is to refine our process. The second is to formalize intercommittee and commission working rules.
Yeah, that's a priority because otherwise I don't understand what we're doing here.
Adding
Right.
another specific goal priority, which is to complete the local roadway safety plan.
Well, we have a draft.
Yeah,
We have a
And I
draft that
believe
needs
that
to-
last time we were almost close to vote it in, but according to the town council liaisons, Rebecca Flynn, and I believe you too, we needed 3 extra intersections.
That's correct. That was my recollection.
Okay.
So that.
The question is,
Straightforward.
Right.
Alpine Portola Road, that's one. Then the second one, that Angela wanted was Westridge.
Yep.
And Portola Road. So
The problem with doing it this way, so randomly, is we need the sheriff's report to find out where the accidents are. Last time we did this, choosing intersections. Santa Maria?
Santa Maria. right?
Santa Maria turned out to be one of the three most dangerous intersections because the bicycles were getting tailgated. People were turning right, going up that road, not looking for bikes, hitting them from the back. That was our biggest bike problem. We wouldn't have known that if we didn't get our reports. So just to choose randomly, Westridge isn't as dangerous as we think it is when you look at the traffic report, which would be nice to have.
So,
Helen, go ahead.
I absolutely want you to be data driven. So there's a publicly accessible portal at UC Berkeley. And if you go to it, you can see the hot spots in town.
We have
Okay,
them,
what
we
is
have them,
that?
I'm sorry.
we have them.
Right. So, great. So, yeah. We don't need the sheriff's report always, right?
Well,
Use-
we know we don't need the service report because they have told us already publicly, half of the accidents are not even reported.
Right. And it's the thresholds that they use for accidents, if there, are injuries, right? Or, exactly. So many times, but the UC Berkeley portal is a great one. You can just Google UC Berkeley accident reporting. And it's got all of the hot spots in town to focus on.
Okay,
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
that would
really good
really
to know.
help. Thank you.
But we have the Gittleson report as well.
Yes. But this is presumably some sort of not quite live reporting, but regularly updated.
What is it? How is it collected?
It's collected based on accident reporting, right? And so, but this is this is a standard problem that you've got. Like the decision of whether to report it or not, right? So often you see more of the more injury, usually when there are injuries or when it's reported, like because an ambulance has been called. So it's based on injury accidents, right? Even though sometimes there are accidents without injuries. So, but those, and what you will also see when you look at the Portola Valley data is about 75% of our accidents are dealing with bicyclists.
Exactly.
Right.
So
So that's why this committee, I'm sorry that you don't, I do value you guys in the work you're doing to try to make things safer. So.
okay, thank you. I do see a hand up from Rebecca. You have a
Hi,
comment?
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
So I just wanted to get your meeting back on track. The local road safety project is not for discussion, is not on your agenda. So you really can't be discussing the details of that or make any resolution at this meeting. What is on your agenda is to figure out what your priorities are for the coming year. And the local road safety plan is one of your agenda items. So that's all you need to do is to confirm that you are going to work on it and you're going to, as a group, decide on what those three intersections are. That's one of your goals. That will be part of your goal, but it's not something you need to discuss right this minute because it's not on your agenda. So just letting you know that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's perfectly clear. But it's easy for that. Make that one of our completion goals for the year. To complete the local roadway safety plan. We know what the remaining items are, so that doesn't have to.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Um,
As far as the other items that we could have on our agenda, we've got the Hawthorne project, which is somewhat it seems to be moving forward for sure, and we need to stay involved in that. And I think the signage, the wildlife signage is something that we can actually do something about. And I'd really like to see that on our agenda because it's important and doable.
Yeah, I actually included that in my appendix items, so thinking that that could happen in a two-phase process. I am, like I said, it's not an hour agenda, I don't want to go into a deep discussion of it, but I have phrased that in a way that we could set those goals for that in two stages.
Right. It's good.
So thank you, Pat, for that. Two remaining items that I had that I think are important. The first is study and support planning for a 3-lane arterial route for emergency evacuations. This is something that's also being pursued by EPC, and I think that's a good opportunity for establishing a collaborative model between committees.
Yeah, I have no information on that, but yeah, I'm willing to, it's part of the safety and evacuation, so.
It's a fairly objective goal to, improve our evacuation routes.
I'm personally just mentally opposed to the idea. So, I think that adding another lane in the middle of Alpine Road is just going to increase our speeding problem more than anything. So,
I concur with that.
we're just.
It's not going to
asking
solve
for-
our issues. The main issue is speeding.
Yeah.
I think it's ensuring that the sort of space is there when it's needed, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a permanent 3-lane layout. I don't want to get into the major details of this, but there are ways to do this so that it's a temporary thing that can be implemented in the case of emergency, but otherwise you just have normal 2-lane running. It just means that, first of all, identifying that you have enough space to do that, and continuing a study to know if there's an area where any changes need to be made or how that layout might be implemented.
I put a combination, if that was going on our list, it would have to include the availability, the openness to putting in traffic furniture. Because we got, we're putting in a lane, we gotta slow it down. It's just, yeah, I really struggle with that.
Me too. We're a rural community.
Yeah.
Helen, go ahead, please.
If I can public comment, is that another idea that is being floated around is not an additional lane, but to make the bike trail that's on the side of Alpine Road wide enough potentially somehow for cars as an evacuation route, so that you would have a better multi-use trail as infrastructure that would work as an evacuation route. So, because I definitely hear your concerns about a 3rd lane, but we're trying to figure out another opportunity. So, by improving our multimodal trail that could then be used as an evacuation route. So that is another idea that's being considered.
That has great potential. That really has great potential. I love that. I love thinking outside the box. And of course, it comes with a lot of other complications as far as tree removal, widening, all of those things. But if we maintain our corridor, our visual, wonderful corridor stays the same. And potentially, if we could get Palo Alto on board, we could get that route going all the way through Rastradero Park, which would be fabulous. It's so many different levels. I love it.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do you have a town that we can use as exemplary? Has this been?
Yeah, good idea.
I sent Ed, I think I sent you the FDA, not FDA, DOT. I think I sent your chair, there is discussion about using multimodal infrastructure as, secondary evacuation type routes infrastructure. And I think I sent it to Ed a while ago, but I don't know off the top of my head, I do not know of any towns who have done it, that type of thing, but I know it's being done and looked at and considered elsewhere. So, I mean, and I hear your idea about going on to Rastadero, right? That's a completely different
Oh,
county.
I know, but it's big.
Like, oh gosh, let's
So-
just keep in our jurisdiction.
Oh,
so.
for sure, but it's
um,
come up over the years.
Yeah, I know. But let's, so there is, so if you guys want that idea, multimodal trail, make sure that you would put that in your work plan as a priority that you would like for that to be considered, right? Because that is the agenda item. I do not, but I'll look right now while I'm listening to see if I sent that to Ed and your chair, and just, if so, then hopefully you can send that out to others.
So my problem is, I'm looking at all these agencies, CCAG, who has this bike pedestrian traffic safety plan. And you mentioned it at one of our meetings. It cost like $1 million just to put, or 5 million, I forget what the number was, to put one roundabout. But if you look at these agencies, all they do is planning. The 5 million is used for consultants and planners. And if they don't meet the goal in 2011, they just shift it over to 2020. Then from 2020, we had a new plan to 2025. Now it's 2030. Nothing gets done. We have a deficit, or at least we're not in financial capacity to do any capital improvement. I'm wondering if San Mateo will be able to do it, and if there will be even money to enact on that. So we can talk about it, but I would like to see some results. And if we're just talking about it, I really don't see how we're making progress. We have asked several times if we could add the bike lane or widen the bike lane in the past, and for some reason.
It did get widened.
Where?
Everywhere.
Along Alpine Road on both sides.
They got,
And
They
Portola.
reduced the size of the actual lane, the
Oh.
car lane, and widened the bike lane. That was on,
it's possible.
yeah, that was
Okay.
on Howard to watch. That got
Okay.
done.
Yeah, that was our project.
Yeah, that was a real thing we did.
Oh, good,
Woo-hoo.
good. See, that makes sense
Yeah,
if we can do it.
yeah. And it didn't take up any more space.
So just so you understand, you have to have something in a plan by law. Like you can put it on a
I
list
understand.
as a wish list, but by law, to get money for it, you have to have a plan for it. If you want to get for these expensive, I ran back of the napkin money, how much it would cost from Alpine into our jurisdictional line, completely a back of the napkin without a retaining wall, because you hit that where Alpine Road or Alpine Inn is, Zots, and you would need a retaining wall, which skyrockets the price, right? So it was like 5 to 6 million, right?
Oh.
Just so, so it's, so to get a plan would be probably $500,000, maybe less, but these planning documents cost a lot and take a lot of time, maybe 250,000. So, we're looking at that for evacuation routes. So if you want to put that, again, reminding you of your agenda, if you want to put that on your priority list, it's now, it's being talked about as a potential, maybe as a, like, we would need to look at it and see if it's even feasible, right? A feasibility study to see if if that bike route, but then it could be a win-win, safer biking and evacuation route, right? Kind of idea. So, but you guys have to decide if you want to put that on your priority list.
So just to confirm, when you're talking about the bike lane, we're only talking about the bike lane on the Zot side of the road. We're not talking about the little mountain bike path on the other side. That stays the same.
Right. It
Okay.
would be the multimodal trail
Yeah.
on the, right, on the multimodal trail that's that runs, actually, it runs before the Zot's Field, Alpine Hills. It starts pretty much at Alpine Hills on the is that south side of the Alpine Road. Right?
So Alpine Hills to Zot's.
Alpine Hills to Zot's, and then Zot's down to Ladera, down to our jurisdictional line. So
Okay.
that trail,
Could I maybe propose an alternate wording for our priority or our goal? And that would be to skin down, maybe remove the other references to 3-lane roads and all the other things, and just say, study and support the planning for improved evacuation capacity.
Perfect. Yeah.
Would
that
you
leaves it-
add-
Go very high level with it.
And would you add the multimodal trail?
Yeah,
or
that
not?
would be part of it.
I mean, that's a
Okay.
top level thing.
Oh,
And then when
okay.
you,
Trying
when you
to make
report,
it-
you can say this could include items such as,
Okay,
but that's part of the report to the council.
I like it.
Yep, okay. Good. I was in the interest, we are starting to run out of time. Thank you, Phil, for your patience. I know you have some things to go through. The last thing I had that I'd included in our suggested items for consideration, we talked about wildlife signage, and was to make a specific priority to make sure the purpose for money coming from Stanford University related to the wedge development would have a clear purpose defined for those funds. Purpose to be determined, but to make sure that there is a purpose defined, and request that be one of our tasks, to be involved in defining that purpose.
Would be nice to know what our options are as far as what we can afford with that money.
Yeah. But I think there's a desire for it not to just disappear in consulting fees.
Right, because, we don't know how much these things cost, and they're very expensive. So, maybe what we can actually afford with all that money turns out to be a couple of street signs. We don't know. But it would be good to know what it is that we can actually afford.
Okay. I'll open this up to a public comment briefly, and then we'll go through just refining the priorities. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that we'll go through. But if there are any further very brief public comments on this, I see a number of people. Christy, I see you have a hand up. I don't know if that is just a remaining hand or if you have a comment.
Yes, I have a comment regarding the CCAG draft report offered on February 7th, 2004 for the local roadway safety plan. Our max bike crash severity score was 213. Our max MV crash severity score was 191. We're a 9 by 9 mile town, and we need to look at this closely and finish, having a systemic factors have roadway and land use characteristics associated with crash frequency and severity. So my proposal is to take the CCAG report and adopt it and deal with it. That's my comment.
Thank you. I think we're basically saying the same thing, just to get that one over the finish line. Do I hear any other public comment from participants online or in the room? Any further committee discussion on items? Would like to comment? Back to my procedure. So the next element of this process would be to finalize our priority list. Perhaps if you permit me, I'll summarize what I think we have just discussed. And then we can set that into an order Take a vote on it and make a proposal to accept and
Okay.
take a vote.
So can we start with my corrections? What you wrote down? The
Yes, I was going
process?
to, I was going
Oh,
to,
okay,
I've
okay,
made
great.
notes as we've gone
Okay.
along to the best of my abilities.
All right.
And what I want to do is summarize what I think I've captured, see if I have your agreement about that. If we want to make any changes to the wording or to the ordering of the priorities,
Okay.
and then we'll take a vote to accept.
Okay, let's hear it.
Thank you. So, first one is regarding process, and that will be to seek direction from town council in execution of the committee's duties. In the first part, to address, to have the ability to address the safety issues brought by residents. And to the second part, to ensure collaboration with town staff and consultants. And I'd like to include other committees and commissions in that as needed.
That's good.
Item 2 would be to ensure completion of the local roadway safety plan and make a formal recommendation of that for the town council to adopt.
Do we have to say draft plan?
Pardon?
Do we have to say draft
Yes.
plan? Because here it says plan, and I thought that Angela specified last time that it's not a plan, it should be listed as a draft.
It should be a draft
Okay.
plan. Thank you. It's an important clarification. So that will be to complete the draft plan and make the recommendation to town council. Simply because it was in the order we discussed it, the next item I have is in supporting to study and support the planning for improved evacuation capacity.
Mhm. And who are the other committees that are working on an evacuation plan?
EPC certainly is emergency preparedness.
Okay.
Is there a subcommittee on this?
We don't have to do subcommittees yet. We're still doing priority.
But, yeah, we're just setting priorities. We're not actually discussing or working on the items. Okay, so we've got that. The next one I have is, go back to my other wording, which is to establish and recommend clear purpose for the Stanford University funds provided for road safety development in association with the wedge development on Alpine Road.
That's fine, the way it's said.
You like the way it's
Yeah.
written? Okay, thank you.
Are you okay with that, Caroline?
It was, I'll read it again, is to establish and recommend clear purpose for the Stanford University funds provided for road safety development in association with the wedge development on Alpine Road.
Yeah. Are you okay with that one, Caroline?
Yes.
He says yes.
But I'm not in the order. But I will listen to all 6.
Okay, the final item is to promote road safety signage, promote road safety for, can't speak. To promote road safety for wildlife, study and recommend wildlife awareness signage.
Yeah, I think that should be a higher priority if we could do something about that one.
I think picking things off that we can do and putting those high up the list is a good choice. Procedural things are just requests and things that we can get moving, so that brings us down to prioritization, ordering. But are we, first of all, are we happy with setting those as our 6 main points for priorities for the next year? Okay.
What was number 6?
Promotion for road safety for wildlife.
I had that as 5.
What was number 5? Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I have. So I had process. LSRP, evacuation routes. Oh, how did I miscount? 1, 2, 3, 4. 6. Oh, no, we did the Stanford money, so we've got. Oh, I'm counting one thing twice. We have 5 priorities. I beg your pardon.
Thank you, Helen.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. So we have process, LSRP, evacuation routes, Stanford money, and wildlife signage. I think
Ed, can
process,
I just- Hi, this is Rita. If we had those sheriff's reports, it would help all of those things. And so I know that's an old, just regular priority of this group, but the sheriff's report of the accidents and whatnot, it just follows up for all of these different issues.
That can't be a priority.
It's not a priority, but it's just regular business. If that could be a
Yeah, but
priority,
we're
is
doing our, we're
get that
doing our
report.
priorities.
Yes. Thanks.
thank you, Rita. It's a priority we could add. But it's somewhat out of our hands. We can't set a priority for the sheriff to provide us information. I'd love to be able to, but I don't think we can.
That should be a given. That should be
It should
something
be-
we
it
have
should
to
be
fight
expected.
for. That should be something that should be given to us. We pay for
Okay.
that.
But that's part of number 2, no?
Yeah, basically it is.
Yeah.
So we could put, I think, process. I think Caroline, you're right about that. Make that the most, maybe make that the first point. And then we can list the other things further down. So we've got completing the LSRP, setting evacuation route, understanding and planning, Stanford money, and wildlife signage. So how would you, do I have some proposals for changing that order or placing things with more or less priority? I think the LSRP probably should be second. And it's something we can get finished. Most likely to happen next would be something on wildlife signage. In that number 3.
I
Well,
think
that
the
would-
wildlife signage is also something we could get the community involved in, which
Absolutely.
our community needs a plus, and we can, you know, the Palooza is something where we could get the word out. We need a plus.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a
So
nice one.
3, we make that 3.
3, let's make it 3.
Number 3. After
And we
LS,
definitely have
after
to
the
work on
LSR,
Stanford.
after the draft LSRP.
Yeah,
number-
yeah,
number
you have to,
2,
yeah.
Number 3, wildlife signage. So then we're left with 4 and 5, which is.
We have to work on Stanford, but
And
and
that
hopefully
shouldn't be that big of a deal. We just need to know what we can afford.
we only have 100,000.
Right, so
For
what are we gonna get?
So let's make
Exactly.
evacuation number,
It's-
make evacuation number 4.
No, I think we do Stanford and then evacuation, because evacuation, Stanford's gonna be much easier. So let's get
Okay.
that so we can get it done and checked off, and then evacuation's gonna be a long, slow slog.
We're going to have fun setting these priorities, but what will happen in real life is anybody's guess anyway.
Right,
So,
yeah, because
But-
that's,
But with Stanford, I mean, I have a problem. Evacuation, because you cannot work on an evacuation if you don't know if you can use that multi-model trail.
Well, that's why the purpose of the evacuation element is to study and support the plan, support the study and planning.
I know, but this is the first time I hear about this, so.
We have discussed it a couple of, from various angles a couple of times.
I would be interested to see what Stanford has done, because when you drive on these campuses, they have roundabouts. They're actually the model that we could use for our town.
that's what I'm, you know, what I look at as far as traffic furniture, all those ideas, go to Stan.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they're doing. It's a wonderful resource as far as ideas.
Well, we could add that in our Stanford report.
Okay.
But I think if the evacuation route goes at the bottom, even though it's really important, that's a years. That's years. To everybody, we can figure that out pretty quickly. It's only $100,000.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not going to go very far,
In
unfortunately.
the world of traffic, that's nothing.
So can we say that we agreed on finalizing the list and the order? of
Let's hear it one
the-
more time, just
So
to be
we
sure.
have, one is to seek direction from town council in execution of duties. Support residents and to collaborate more closely and appropriately with committees and commissions and have processes set for that. Number 2 is to complete the local roadway safety draft plan. Number 3 would be to pursue wildlife road safety and informational signage. Number 4 would be to guide defining the usage for the Stanford money. And number 5 would be to support study and planning for improved evacuation capacity.
Okay, I like it.
We agreed on that finalization. So we propose a motion to accept the priorities as discussed and as ordered. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, I'd like to call for a vote to approve the proposed motion for committee priorities to be reported to the town council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we
Aye.
have all 3 committee members present in agreement. Thank you. Thank you very much. I
Yeah,
think that
thank
was well
you.
done.
Hey,
Phil, I know we have one event looming, and that's
Yeah,
your
Phil.
Palooza. Thank you very much for your patience.
We cannot hear if he's talking.
Your microphone is turned off. Hit the button, the light should come on.
There we
There you
go.
go.
I'm Phil Barth. I'm on the organizing committee for PV Palooza 2025, which is coming up May 31st, Saturday. This organizing committee is sponsored by the PV Palooza Foundation, which keeps the financial burden off of the town and the time off of the town staff. I'm also on the Cultural Arts Committee, which is no longer a Brown Act committee, so we don't have to be quite so formal with our meetings. I'm here talking about traffic and parking for the PV Palooza event, and I've got some things written down which can be entered into the record. I'll hand these out to the committee members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
So basically, we worry about traffic and parking and safety. I've counted about 552 available parking spots between the town center, the Episcopal Church, parallel parking along Farm Road, and parallel parking along Willow Road or Woodview Road Lane. We can't use parking spots at Spring Ridge because that would spook horses, and that could kill somebody. So
Breakdown,
Spring Down Equestrian Center.
right? Oh, I thought you said spring.
We just that. Can you say that again?
Okay, we can't use parking spots at Spring Down Equestrian Center because that would spook horses and somebody could get killed. Apparently, the meadow in front of Spring Down at one time was used for parking. I've talked some with Kevin Welch about that, and I see a shaking head over there on the committee.
It's a good idea. That's where the trail is? Is that where you're talking about, that meadow?
Well, there's several trails that go around that meadow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
We're trying to talk with Windmill School, which has 36 spaces, and that's up in the air. We're talking with Valley Presbyterian Church, which has 65 spaces. That's still up in the air. The Portola Valley Theater Company may be doing some things at the Presbyterian church, which would result in parents
Mm.
leaving their kids there and parking.
Ooh, bad
Um,
day for it.
Overall, there's about 2,300 people who I think came to, that's a guesstimate, came to PV Palooza last year. So there's, parking problems. Also trying to arrange for a lift drop-off and pickup right in front of the schoolhouse here and get publicity out on that. We're worrying about crossing guard for Portola Road right in front of the schoolhouse. And we have not yet organized that, but we would look for a volunteer crossing guard.
Well,
I'd, yeah, I'd appreciate committee opinions about whether that's a good idea or not. And we had problems with people parking in Village Square last year, so we're going to try to put up some please no PV Palooza parking signs there. That's all I have in mind right now, and I just want the committee to be aware of these issues, and I'll be talking, I think, with Kevin Welch more on this. Kevin is married to Jerry Welch, who is on the organizing committee for PV.
He's also Sheriff's Commissioner, and I'm Sheriff Commissioner Assistant. So I don't know at this point if we'd be able to make any leverage on our sheriff's contract for event support from them. We'd have done in the past for things like Zots to Tots. I don't know if that's a useful thing to do, or the Zots to Tots is specific to closing roads and managing traffic on the public street, and this is rather less.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, we also need some no parking signs along both sides of Portola Road to keep people from parking on the shoulder.
We did that before, and Kevin and I actually organized and set the signings ourselves. I think we'd be looking to not do that ourselves this time. Are you able to get support from the town to place that?
I don't know. We're trying to minimize any burden on the town staff.
Understood. So, but if we could do that with that seems like a call for volunteers to put those things out maybe the night before or on the morning of.
Yeah.
What times does the event begin? 11 or
10:30.
10:30?
Yeah.
If we put a date on the sign as far as no parking, you could put it out a couple days early, which, it seems like what happens in towns where they'll give people a little heads up that you can't park there. So they'll, put the dates on, whatever the date would be on the sign.
Do you have an actual map or plan layout for the parking restrictions that you want to include? I remember roughly what we did last year, but don't remember it in completeness. I think what we tried to do was prevent parking on the shoulders, on the paved shoulders in front of town centre. Just about had enough bollard and other material hardware to make that happen. That was tricky to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure about bollards. It's a matter of, we don't want to block bicycles too.
Yeah.
So, question on this, meadow in front of Springdown. Have you ever known anyone to use that area for parking?
No, not in my personal experience.
I do recall that. We organized, I think it was either the town picnic or one of the events.
And how did that work out?
It was successful.
well, they should consult with the conservation and open
Consult with
space,
Ke-
no?
I mean, that's a
No.
question for the town, whether that would be allowable or not.
Yeah, who
Talk to the
do-
town manager and see if he can marshal that with conservation, because
That's a lot of
now been
parking.
changed to a park. It was, at that time, it was previously Springdown property. It's now
Oh.
passed ownership to the town,
Mm.
and so the consideration is different.
Because, in all honesty, that's a darn good idea. It's a big space, and one day of cars parking on hard ground, if it's gonna be hard,
It's gonna be hard by then, I hope.
Yeah, that's
it's
not
still
gonna
be pretty
cause
soft
any
at the moment.
environmental problem.
Yeah, I don't
One
know
day.
if grass will need to be cut low in order to prevent fire danger.
Well, that's a point, good point there,
I would-
but definitely an option.
I would say ask, but Presently, I would assume, you'd have to go ahead assuming a no answer on that, just for safety. For safety of your plan, I mean.
So talk to the town manager.
Talk to the town, yeah, and I can help you there as well, so.
Okay.
And the,
And I think the other thing we can do is support your call for volunteers, so, I mean, I know.
what about the other group that helps with ZOTS, the emergency preparedness people? Will they help out?
They might be amenable, I can talk to them tomorrow.
Could you ask that? Because this is a big situation. And,
Also, I don't know if you've approached CERT and whether they're able to provide some help.
oh,
There's a large body of people that are often willing to be involved in town events because it's good field practice for them. You know, whether they'd be interested in attending on that basis or whether they just want to go and see the bands play, I don't know. So
how would he
Board.
contact them?
I can make contact with CERT coordinators.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then you've got some Ed's helping you out with a couple potential group of people, volunteers.
I think the biggest challenge to us is whether we want to have private individuals helping manage traffic on public streets, and I think that's something I'd rather back away from. Helping
That's
to
so
place signage
dangerous.
and do those other things like we can do with it to a limited extent.
I don't know the crossing guards for afternoons coming out of Puerto Madera.
That's patrol. That's the Woodside Patrol,
Bay
the
Patrol,
private
yes.
company.
Ah.
So I would suggest to contact them.
Okay.
Yeah, when I
Perhaps-
talked to John Badger, he said you have engaged some people from Woodside Patrol in support of that. They're a sponsor, and their sponsorship is to provide assistance with traffic parking and possibly a crossing guard as well. So,
I think it's important that we know how much service we can expect from the sheriff. Because
Yeah.
you need professionals.
you do, well, presently none, because I don't think any approach has been made to them. So we'd have to try and negotiate that. But
Oh, you have
no,
contacted them?
have not.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe anybody
Yeah.
has.
I think John Badger will be talking to the sheriff,
Okay.
but I'm not sure.
He can loop Kevin and I in on that as well, because we are the sheriff commissioner and assistant. I hope this is productive for you. I think we do want to make it a safe event. And, I don't know if you say we can put out a call for volunteers. And last year I helped manage the area behind the stage on the soccer field where the sheriff's substation is.
Yeah.
Keep the
And
riffraff out of
there
there.
were some problems with crowding down at that end last year, and that needs some
It was tricky.
organization and especially for handicap parking.
Yep. It needs a stage cutoff to prevent people going all the way down to the end before it's too late. So the details of that are tricky because there is some parking and people move in and out of the tennis courts. Right.
What did you mention last time? There was an other event the next day and that blocked some parking spots? Do you remember that?
Oh, it's a cycling event. It's,
Yes.
yes, it's a century that,
It's one of the charity rides, isn't it?
yep, it's a bicycle charity ride. It happens the next day.
Yeah.
So it's probably the Sequoia.
And that was blocking some of the parking spots because they put the
the porta potties or the Sequoia.
I think that's going to happen again as well.
Yeah, this is gonna happen this year too. So
Some of the
it's like
spaces
20
here,
porta
some of the
potties. It's a
spaces in
big
front here are
parking
going to be
area.
occupied with materials staged for the next event. They're going to make one of their major stops. in,
Okay.
PV Town Centre. So discount 2 or 3 spaces from being brought to the schoolhouse.
So they have to have permission from the town, no? Before
They
can
have,
do-
Yeah, well,
they
they
all
do.
have- they have permission.
Oh,
They're
You
probably-
can't start doing it century, something like that. You do it a year in advance to get permits. No, it's a lot of work.
Do you know who I would contact to see what they're doing?
Angela Hay,
Okay,
she knows all about that and she's in Western Wheelers and she's on that organizational group. So, she would definitely be the person to ask about
Okay.
that.
I'll give her a yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything further?
Okay.
We've got a good start there, I think.
Yep.
We really want to help you with this,
I
and,
have a comment.
last month it kind of came off like we didn't want to help you, but we do. And we want to make sure that it's safe and that, people can get in and out easily.
I think that's fair. I think last time we were just concerned about what was likely to be asked and what we would be committing to, but I think this is a very different picture.
I think this is, yeah, this is great that you've done all this work. Now, I question though, the 30 spaces at Springdown, are those the ones by the pickleball court? Which ones are you talking about?
No, there's about 15 paved spaces right in front of the office area.
Oh,
and then
Inside
about-
the Springdown gates.
inside of Springdown?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but we don't want to be driving in there.
No. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what area you were talking about. Okay.
And in fact, I think we need to put up an additional sign there saying no PV Palooza parking.
Yeah, no event parking. Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
Great. Thank you, Phil. Let's see what we can put together. I think with that brings us to the end of our,
I think that you haven't called on the public yet on that.
you're right, I haven't, want to go home. Public comment, Christie, go ahead.
Thank you. I think the PV Palooza should have access to the sheriff. It is our tax money paying the over $1 million bill. And I would like to see them in our town when we need them. A lot of times sheriff is over in other cities taking care of emergencies. And this is one time we need safety, especially if we're going to advertise in 5 magazines around. We're bringing in the surrounding cities to PV Palooza, which wasn't always the case. In the past, it had been smaller, and now we have a need for, it's more of a county-wide event. So that's my first comment. And then I'm wondering if the sheriff, we can make sure that the sheriff attendance is in the actual sheriff contract, and I'm not sure who that would be on town council, but one of the council members is responsible for that contract, and I think we have a right to amend a contract whenever we need to, as to our expectations for the over $1 million a year. And then it's my understanding that Alpine Road is a Caltrans road, so the sooner we get the CCAG draft into a finalization, maybe we'll get the help we need on this road for further development. And then I was concerned when Helen said that most evaluations of traffic are $500,000 or more, and we received 100,000 from Stanford. So, and she's Public Works for Half Moon Bay. So that is a concern that that's not going to be enough money to possibly get the reports we need on traffic. Thanks.
Okay, any further public comment before I move to adjourning the meeting? Don't see any hands up online. Nope. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and attendance today. I call for the meeting to be adjourned. Our next regularly scheduled meeting would fall on May 7th.
May 7th.
So I will not be available in person for that meeting, but I will try and attend remotely.
I'm gonna be there.
All right.
One other thing, I noticed horse trailers over by the soccer field behind the sheriff area. So if we do PV Palooza and we can't park in Springdown, can they move their horse trailers so we can use our own parking? That's my question.
There are a number of trailers there. Some of those are emergency preparedness.
How
and
many,
other
how
items.
many spaces are you talking about?
I've seen 2.
2 spaces? It's not worth it.
Yeah, those belong to the CERT group. I can ask if they're able to move them, but they are stationed there.
It'd just
Yeah,
be
it's
for the
2
day, I
spaces.
think.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I declare the meeting adjourned and hope to see you via Zoom next time.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you.